Modern Web, if you guys don't know, we have a top 10 JavaScript podcast. So you can check it out on all the places where you can find podcasts. But we also host meetups here in Atlanta, and it's just a great community and place to be. And we always partner with all the different groups within the ecosystem. Cecilia is my partner for the Atlanta JavaScript group. You want to say something?
Yeah, so we host meetups in Midtown at Tech Square ATL. We'll actually be there next month. Always the last Tuesday or fourth Tuesday of the month in Midtown. And so if you're ever interested in speaking at one of our meetups as well, please let me know. AtlantaJavaScript.com will take you to our meetup page, but as long as you're subscribed to Modern Web, Refactor, React, Vue, or JavaScript, you'll see all of it. So.
And if you want 10 emails, subscribe to all of them. Martin over here is from React Atlanta, so
I mean, I think Cecilia just said it. Thank you guys all for coming, and just follow us in any way you can. If you follow one, you follow all of us. So that's a great thing.
Yes, it's true. And then Alex with you, Atlanta over there. And then of course my refactor ladies. First, I saw Beth like 2 seconds ago. Beth and Erica are right over here. Do y'all want to say anything about Refactor and what, like, the upcoming events y'all have coming up or things?
Right, so we have a lot planned. Please connect with us on Meetup.com and also get into our Discord channel to find out everything that we're planning.
Thank you. And you can go to REFACTR.TECH to find all the links, right? Okay, perfect. They do amazing stuff, so definitely look out for all the stuff that they're doing. We have a LinkedIn group and a Discord as well, so feel free to hang out there, chat with us. Our LinkedIn group, I feel like it's a little bit quiet, but seriously, you guys can talk, it's fine. And that's the best way to build community and build network as well. So, I just posted on Twitter the other day that, if you're not going to your local meetups, you're totally missing out on opportunities, which is totally true. My friend Chandler actually worked for this dot as, one of his, earlier tech jobs, I suppose, but he said that the way he got his first job was because he was volunteering at the meetup, and then when, the partner, like Cecilia works at FanDuel, I work at this dot, Martin works at PlayOn Sports, right? Alex, I forgot where you work, but, there's so many people here, and if you want to, where do you work? But if you want to sort of build your career in Atlanta and do those types of things, we're always looking for volunteers, we're always looking for speakers, we're always supportive of the things that, you want to do. So definitely get involved, hang out, talk to us, let us know. Atlanta Tech Park is this beautiful venue over here, so they're so kind to sponsor this space. This is woman run and owned. You can message for a discount on your membership, but another thing is if you're paying dues for other things like a Chamber of Commerce or TAG or whatever, they'll actually deduct your annual membership fees from that. So it's if this costs $99 and you're paying $40 for TAG, your membership here will only be $50. Is that right? Is that right now? Anyway. Wanted to thank our sponsors, Render, for being one of our annual sponsors, sponsoring the food. Atlanta Tech Park again. This dot is my company. We do software consulting, a lot of stuff in AI these days. Sabad Group, who has basically sponsored us from the very beginning. Improving, which is one of our local venue hosts in Alpharetta. And then you want to say anything about FanDuel?
Yeah, FanDuel, actually, part of it, Refactor, I think, out there. But we have a nice constantly market, and we are hiring, so if anybody's interested, please feel free to talk to me. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, cool. Well, first up is going to be the Icebreakers. So I wanted to bring Calypso up here. And by the way, if y'all live near McDonough, Calypso hosts a meetup there too.
Yeah, it's in College Park. It's called 75 Soft Devs, but if you forget that, you just come see me and I'll have a seat.
And we have prizes. This is a Popeyes Christmas sweater, okay? The Popeyes Christmas sweater is size small. We have this dot Christmas sweaters as well. And then, yeah, so we have two of those, size small and size large. So, anyway, and then we have all these goodies over here, and then we have a few shirts over here. So, please, go on. Okay,
Completely.
yeah, all right, cool.
All right, we're doing trivia. So first question is, which company developed the TypeScript programming language? Sure, yes. Yes, correct. Microsoft.
Come up and get a prize.
All right, next, what does NAM stand for? Yes. Yep. I should have been harder questions.
Oh, what happened?
Bingo.
Oh, no.
No!
Oh, is this the question?
I'm just kidding. Okay.
Too
Just kidding. Okay. Oh, okay. What symbols used in Python for this comprehension? Yes, ma'am.
D.
Yes. Good job. Good prize. All right. In Git, what command is used to combine changes from one variable to another? Yes. Merge. Yep. Yeah, next time we'll give way harder questions. Which of these is not a valid date? Yes. D? No. Yeah. B, yeah, it is B, 13. Wait. Oh, sorry. I thought you said.
It's a big number.
It's 13, guys. I'm sorry. If you have questions about this, you can ask Alex to give you the question. Alex is fault. Yep. Which C is from side?
Didn't think about that.
You gotta read it.
That's okay, come get a prize.
All right, which of the following data types is immutable? Yes.
D.
B, yes, correct. Good job. Y'all are super. What is the output of print? Yes.
D.
Yep. Good try.
Did he say B or D?
He said B. You said B, right? Like a bear. Okay. Which function is used to delay code execution? Yes.
C.
Yes. This is time out. Yes, good job. Come get a prize. Alright. What is the parent class of all Java classes? Yeah. Yep. It is object. Good job. That's it. That's all.
Wait, where did this go? Oh, this is all the.
Yeah, all the questions.
Okay. So now I wanted to go ahead and welcome Martin up here for the Fireside Chat. So Martin, welcome.
Sorry, forgot that there's stickers and little swag in the back. I totally forgot to put it out earlier.
Where's our fire? We can't have a fireside chat without a fire.
Okay, so you guys have to let us know if you can't hear us, okay? But yes, thank you, Martin, for joining me today. I'm so excited that you're here. Tell us a little bit about, who you are and what you do.
Sure, thank you. So Martin Rojas, I'm right now a UI architect for PlayOn Sports. Kind of been a developer since 2011. Been mostly kind of ended up moving to the front end. When I first started, it was Flash and ActionScript on like physical kiosk devices, and then as that kind of moved along, ended up kind of being routed into the web, and then React, and just kind of been making my way through there. Worked a lot in like web and also kind of physical stuff. One of the biggest projects that I'm proud to is the freestyle code machines. I was the architect on the new rebrands, the one that you see that's running React. So we built on that. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And so you and I talk a lot about leadership, of course, since you're in a leadership position. And this idea that you don't have to be in a leadership position to be a leader. So what does that actually mean? Because I think everybody's always like, well, I want to lead, so I need a title. I sort of need to be given the permission to lead. Is what I see a
Right.
lot.
No, and that's honestly one of the biggest things. And is when I started to contribute, kind of what made me create the path that I've gotten a chance on through every job is that it's always about finding what makes you, where you're different from everybody else and what you can provide for the team. Usually, in a lot of corporate spaces, everybody's kind of quiet, everybody's reserved, and the leader just becomes the person that's willing to raise their hand and say, hey, I can do this, or what about we do this? And just by doing that, you can start kind of being leaders and learning from other people, right? The more you talk to other people, the more things you pick up, and honestly, coming out to meetups like this, you see how other companies are doing it, and just kind of talking, you start kind of getting opportunities and creating leadership. Leadership to me is just where you're working, giving your point of view. It may be right, it may be wrong, but it's the more that you give it and the more you listen to people kind of giving you that feedback, if it's constructive, you start growing as a person and you end up growing those around you.
Yes, I love that. It gives me so many memories of like so many different places I've been where, it's just, you just start doing and then, somehow you end up being noticed, for better or for worse. Can you give me some examples of maybe sort of like situations where you've seen other people like rise up to the occasion and, maybe going from like a junior to a senior, or like being given more
opportunity?
Yeah, more opportunity, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many occasions. It's in leaders, I don't know. It's kind of hard to think of it as a specific example. I think you
Or
just
even your
or maybe no, because I'm just seeing like a lot of times leadership is sometimes you speak up, but it's also helping others speak up, right? So, and I think a lot of times that gets discounted from leadership, right? Sometimes creating that safe space for somebody, like you heard somebody make a small comment here or there, and then just being like, bringing that up for them, right? Being like, no, I heard her say this, or I heard him say that, and making sure, giving that safety, like, no, this is a good idea, let's say it. I think as people do that the first time or do it once or twice, then they start getting more comfortable, and you kind of see them grow and start taking a little bit more risk and have that support.
I love that, I like that. Any questions for Martin? Like, any questions about maybe what you all are experiencing, or it can be anything. You can ask him, what he ate last night. Yeah.
Are y'all hiring?
Yes, we are hiring some engineers. So if you go right now on PlayOn Sports, if you go to our website, the career page, we are hiring. So we have some video engineers, and so they're more in the senior positions, but we are hiring. Please feel free to go and look in. Also, I guess before you do that, on the Discord that we talked about, or even in the React ATL groups, if you hear jobs and in the Discord, there's a channel group for jobs, post them, because it's, you never know who's gonna help, right?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
So in modern tech era, because there's so many technology, would you say that it's better to specialize in some fields? And if we are specialized, like how to become a specialist in these?
Yeah, I think, so if I understand the question, it's like, right now, there's so many technologies, should you specialize, or how do you pick what you specialize in? I don't think it's necessarily thinking about technology. I think the way that I built my career is I realized what I was good at. I was good at jumping into a project and like either debugging it or picking it up and getting the ground running, right? Turns out that put me into newer web technologies and that kind of stuff. But what was good at was like being able to jump into something and get working on the next thing. So from there, it kind of let me figure out, like, I'm a UI backend. I know enough to make comments and complain to the backend person, but I've never had the opportunity to do that in my work, right? And I specialize on the front in like learning this stuff and picking that up. But to me, it's like finding out where you're good at. Are you really good at like debugging? Are you really good at configuring things? And then I think that kind of gives you a path. So you're not necessarily thinking of technology, but think of a skill that sets you apart. It's like, if you introduce yourself, it's like, hey, I am really good at mobile design. I am really good at accessibility. I am really good at, right?
I definitely love that, because I have a lot of friends who are way smarter than me, and some are so intensely deep into tech, and I will never be that person, but they've gotten, you know, architect level jobs and staff level jobs because, you know, they're intensely good at one thing. I think when I do interviews with people, the biggest thing that people say is, what do you need to be a leader? Like, what's the biggest piece of advice? And it's working on your soft skills has been the thing that I hear over and over and over again.
I think definitely, and honestly, I think, you know, I'd love to hear kind of your answer to that question, because you have probably a different experience now. You know, you were in tech and now coming into the business, you know, so it's also a very different thing. There's no one path.
That's true. And I love your idea of just focusing on what you're good at and maybe not focusing on what you're not good at. Like, if you're not good at organizing, then it's okay. Maybe, like, sure, of course, sometimes maybe you need to improve those skills, but maybe focus on, like, the skills that you're really good at versus, like, doubling down on the things so that you can advance. Yeah.
I think so. Maybe you can provide, like, one of the things that when I was in, like, young and in college, it told me, it's like, you know, your elevator pitch. Like, how do you sell yourself? And to me, I always kind of keep thinking back into, like, if I have 30 seconds with a person, what can I tell them about me? Like, you know, where I was telling, it's like, I am good at this. Like, jump into a project and I can figure it out. I can do this. So I think that may help you, if you ask yourself that question, help you understand, like, what makes you different from the person next to you, right?
I love that. Any other questions? Yes.
What advice would you give to those who are looking for a job today versus 6 months ago?
Ooh.
Today versus 6 months ago.
Based on what you're looking for.
Based on what based on what I'm looking for. Well, no, it's such a, I think the soft skill, honestly, you know, the boogeyman in the room for a lot of jobs, and honestly, I don't think it's necessarily the reality, but how it's being perceived is kind of like AI, right? And what does AI come down to is how well do you communicate yourself in writing, right? That was a skill I was horrible at. It has been one of the hardest things for me. Like, back in college, I took the SAT 2 in writing. I got 30th percentile, so bottom of the barrel. But that has become the biggest skill. Like, I went to a technical school because I didn't want to do writing, but turns out that's what it's turning into. That's how you talk to the tools now, and if you can communicate yourself well. And same thing, find a way to tell that story about yourself. When you're going to an interview, when you're doing that, you need to sell yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you do a lot more interviews. How would you?
I mean, honestly, for the past 6 months, like 6 months ago, we would hire based on what the traditional sort of, you know, past 10 years of hiring has been, right? Where it's how good is their skill set? Let's evaluate their soft skills. Let's evaluate this, like what type of leader they are. Let's evaluate, you know, how good they are at coding, etc. But now it's, oh my God, you know, do we hire people that are only AI first? And that's definitely been the question. Like, AI is the biggest thing right now, and if people are, you know, just curious or just willing to do AI, so before it was, okay, are you willing to do AI or not? Okay, these people are willing to, but they haven't really, and now it's like, okay, if you're not good at it, then I don't know if we can hire you. And that is a huge difference from, you know, and it changes. I mean, it changes like 6 months ago, 3 months ago, you know, from now, it's changed how we think about our hiring process and who we hire.
I think, yeah, honestly, I think it goes back, you know, now you're focusing on it, maybe it just goes back to, are you willing to still learn?
Yeah.
Right, it's just become a lot faster. AI is just one thing you're learning, but I think anybody who's been working on it, they realize, like, you see that, you know, AI can destroy your code base if you haven't set your permissions right. But there's things like, now, all those other basic practices that you have to implement your you know, your permission roles, your security, if you don't set those right, it can now bite you. So it's like, those skills are not going away, but you need to be willing to learn new things really fast.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably, you know, the biggest indicator of somebody that is, have you been learning? It could be AI, it could not be AI. Like, are you still learning, and are you willing to continue learning?
Any last questions? One last question, yes.
So, speaking of AI, are you guys trying to do any meetups? I mean, there are a few in town.
Meetups, yeah.
What about this group that needs to focus on
This is
AI?
this is a very AI focused meetup today because you're going to be hearing from Sam, of course, and then AD and Elliot are going to be talking about AI. So, but there is actually a new Atlanta AI group that myself, AD, and Meg started up. I think it's just called Atlanta AI Community, right? So it's on LinkedIn. You guys can join it. We just started a week ago. There's over 200 people on it. We're going to be doing a boot camp soon. Or sorry, not a boot camp. A hackathon. We're going to be doing a hackathon soon. We've been thinking about doing meetups and, again, sort of like trying to bring everybody into the pool. So. Okay, amazing. Let's give Martin a round of applause. Okay, Sam, you're up. Yeah.
That's what it was.
I know, but,
It's okay.
Sam thought he had more time, but I did that on purpose. So how many of y'all know Sam personally? Anyone? 1, 2, 3, yeah. So Sam and I, uh-oh.
Do you need a dongle?
You have a dongle?
Yeah.
Look at that leader right there. So Sam and I have met a few times, and I was introduced via AD, sort of like, I don't remember how long ago, but then at Render, which is one of my favorite conferences, we got to talking, and Sam was just like, people just don't know, and I'm like, oh my God, he had so many things to say about AI and sort of like history and where he was and how he wanted to sort of like teach and educate people around what he was learning with AI. So I'm so excited that he agreed. Like we were talking, I think in June, so like less than a month ago, he agreed to come speak at this meetup. So please give him a big round of applause.
Give me 1 second. I am trying to. I'm almost there, guys. Okay. All right. So, there's some of us that have ADHD or like to multitask. This is the interactive version of the presentation I'm going to give. So feel free to, can you guys hear me in the back?
Use your louder voice. You're using a polite voice.
I am. But yes, this is, I've never given a presentation in front of people before, other than at work. Forgive. Well, I'm going to be looking down at my phone a little bit. Thanks for coming out. My name is Sam, and I'm basically here to talk about a shift in perspective. We constantly hear about AI, and a lot of that conversation is framed around the idea that we are all going to be replaced. And I want us to explore the idea of AI as a symbiotic. We can work with it in essence, right? Like, it's a powerful collaborator that can amplify our skills and not necessarily replace them, right? I want to quickly thank, where is she? Calypso? AD and Tracy, they heard my strong opinions and encouraged me to come out here. And this talk grew from that conversation. Okay, cool. So, who am I? I'm Sam, been a software engineer for 10 plus years, worked at CNN where I met AD, worked at Cox Automotive as well, worked for nonprofit Case Commons, been using AI, and I want to include GitHub Copilot, because I've been using that far longer than 2023, but I would say like the open AI stuff and Anthropic stuff, I've been using that since 2023. And this is me rendered in the style of Book of Life. I love that movie. And my son encouraged me to update my picture because I was just gonna use like a regular picture, and he was like, Dad, you could do better. So here we go. 1 billion tokens generated weekly. Does anybody here have an idea of how many tokens they generate? Anybody?
Enough to run out of license.
1 million.
1 million? Okay. Okay, cool. Just to give you a sense of how hands-on I am with the tech, this is, I was surprised when I was preparing for this talk, and I looked at my data and I realized, wow, that's a lot, 1 billion. I obviously use Claude Code, the Max version, and I have a lot of sub-agents. I have been doing a lot of like PRs, generating code and documentation and whatnot. I don't know why my thing.
To surround yourself in technologies, to surround yourself in things that don't work. It's my favorite quote. I don't know where it came from. That's
Forget, I was like, why is this happening?
We'll do it live.
Do it live?
Do it live.
But okay, I'll try to do this. So, how many of you guys know Ken Beck? Oh wow, okay, well, thank you. So Ken Beck, he's like one of the original signatories to the Agile Manifesto, and he's been programming for 52 years, right? And in essence, he started playing around with the AI that we all have been using, almost 2 years ago, and he felt like, you know what? Somebody that's been programming for like 50 plus years, like 90% of what he knows is chucked out the window, right? That what it really comes down to is the 10% that's left, how can he amplify that? What you'll learn tonight. I have notes because I'm old. I'm old. Cool. Okay. Here's the thing. Everyone has. I imagine how many people here haven't used like ChatGPT or Claude Code? How many people have not?
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I imagine, I'm in the presence of developers. I imagine that you guys have pasted some sort of prompt in there and it spit out like globs and globs of code. Some people would even term it AI slop. And you probably spent a lot of time just trying to fix it, and you probably could have like written it yourself in the time that you spent fixing it, right? So, a lot of us treat AI as if it's like some sort of like magical like code printer. And based on the instructions we give it, it does print out what we ask it. But we're asking it for the wrong things. We give it tasks when we should be giving it context. Last month, I asked AI to like refactor, like there's some stuff I'm hacking with AD on with regards to like some sort of like, it's like a multi-layered platform, and I just needed it to like create a simple service object. And based on our code base, it went and created like this 12-file monstrosity, right? And all because I didn't give it the context of like, make it scalable, but for like 50 people, right? and it thinks that everything is like for like this huge scale, and it's really just for like a few people. Instructions that drift while requirements shift. Context stays unshared while developers stay scared. But here's what changed everything for me. AI isn't a junior developer you hand tasks to. It's more like, imagine you're cooking with someone who's memorized every recipe in the cookbook, but it's never actually tasted food, right? They need you to be the chef who says too salty, needs to be on fire a little bit, right? The fix isn't always better prompts or fancier tools. It's changing from build this to help me think through this. All right. So, if build this doesn't work, what does? I've spent like the last year going through some like painful trial and errors, and it comes down to like 3 patterns that I've identified that has like changed a lot for me, right? First pattern is stop giving orders and start sharing context. Instead of creating a user authentication system, we have 100 users, internal users, who need simple email, password, login, no social auth, and our team hates magic, right? Anybody here familiar with magic? Okay, basically magic is like, it sends you a link to your email address, and you just click it and you're automatically logged in, right? And watch how different the output becomes as a result of like you being a bit more intentional about the context. The second one is hard for us programmers, and that is treating AI like a pair that you program with, not a vending machine. Short exchanges like, what if we tried X? That breaks Y. What about Z? It's a conversation, not a transaction. Think of it like cooking with someone, you don't hand them a recipe and leave. You taste, you adjust. It needs acid, it needs garlic, it needs to be on the fire a little bit more. But think of it as the same thing, but just with code. And the third and final pattern for me has been something that nobody tells you. AI is confident when it's wrong. Right? Therefore, always review before you implement. But this is crucial. Review for intent, not for syntax. Right? Ask yourself, does this solve the actual problem, or is the problem just described poorly? Right? These patterns flip the entire relationship. You're not managing a junior developer, you're collaborating with someone who has perfect memory, but no judgment, no taste. Your judgment plus its memory, that's where magic begins. That's your 10%. But knowing these patterns isn't enough. You need to practice them. Which brings us to something I call Test Factory, the safest way to start building these collaboration muscles. The goal here isn't to learn the ins and outs of one specific tool. It's to build the fundamental collaboration muscle that makes you effective with any AI that comes along. This is about future-proofing yourself, your skills, by learning how to partner with technology, not just use it. So this image was generated by Gemini. It's actually getting much better at generating images. So the different AI collaboration failure modes. This is the most common one, unshared context, which is something I alluded to earlier, but I'll bring it up again. You ask the AI to write a function, but you haven't given it the surrounding code, the dependencies, or the business requirements. You're asking it to work towards. And often it feels like it's working in a vacuum. You start a chat thread with a clear goal, but after a dozen messages, the AI has lost the plot. It forgets initial constraints and starts hallucinating, and the context window gets polluted. Are you guys following?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, that's
cool.
good.
All right. The third one, this is the opposite problem. spend like an hour crafting like the perfect multi-page prompt for a task that you could like complete in like 30 minutes, right? You're working hard on the prompt than the actual problem itself. This brings us to the most important slide of this presentation. The challenge isn't the technology, it's actually us, it's our mindset. We need to shift from seeing AI as competition to seeing it as a collaborator, a co-conspirator of sorts, right? Using this mental model of inversion, how many people know about Charles Munger? Or Charlie Munger? Okay, he's Warren Buffett's, God rest, guy just passed recently, but he looks at things a lot of times through the lens of inversion, which is basically, tell me where I'm gonna die so I never go there, right? So in essence, using the mental model of inversion, let's stop asking, will AI replace me? And start asking, how can I develop the muscles to become so effective that my value explodes? This shift changes everything. You stop trying to be faster than AI at writing boilerplate stuff, and instead focus on combining it with your human judgments. AI failures are no longer proof of its incompetence, but valuable feedback on how you can provide better guidance. Let it handle the boilerplate, right? The unit tests for pure function, the data transformation scripts, these are the automatable 90%. I wish that line was in there in the middle. Can you guys read what I?
Yeah.
Cool. Step in for complex business logic, core architectural decisions, and anything that requires taste or deep understanding of the user's needs. This is the critical 10% that Kent Beck referred to. This is what makes all of us here unique. This is a master skill. It's the art of giving AI just enough information to do the job effective without overwhelming it. It's about becoming a master of knowledge transfer. So, came up with an idea to, I guess, help folks that aren't exactly sure where to start or might be frustrated with a path forward in this day and age. And I like using cooking analogies, not in music analogies, but I'm gonna stick with cooking. And you as a software engineer, you are now the head chef. You treat AI as a junior dev or a kitchen apprentice. Your job is to give it simple, repetitive tasks to learn the fundamental rhythm of your interaction with it. Now you're pairing up, right? You act as a navigator, directing the high-level logic while the AI is the driver, writing the code. You're working side by side. How many people here pair program? Okay. How many people here enjoy pair programming, that pair programming? Okay. This is a great tool for pair programming because now you actually have to be very thoughtful and intentional about how you communicate to it in order for you to achieve whatever goals you have before you. Ah, yes. The last 2 weeks. You graduate to executive chef role. You're focused on high-level thinking, designing the architecture, planning the system while you delegate the implementation of the entire component to the AI. At this point in time, I probably write 5% of the code that's generated, just because I'm able, through practice, to get the AI to do what I want. It's not foolproof, right? I could type in the exact same word, now, tomorrow, and it's gonna spit out something slightly different, right? How many people have been able to go to the QR code site that I shared? All right, cool. So, first, find a simple function in your code base that already has like good test coverage, right? And then, here's the great part, delete the test, right? As long as you have it in like version control, right? Now provide this function to the AI and ask it to write the test, right? Because what you need to actually develop here is you need to have a sense of what it can do and what it has trouble with, right? Because that's how you build up your comfort. Finally, compare the AI's output to the original tests you deleted. Evaluate it for completedness, edge cases, correctedness, right? And notice what it misses. And that's where you matter, right? Like, I don't want people feeling like there's no hope. Like, we could do shit, right? Like, we can use this and like create whatever it is that we want to create. So, there are 4 reasons why this method works, right? This testing. You're operating in a low-risk environment, right? You have something that works, you raise the test, and then you just have it like create more tests and you just do this over and over again. And it doesn't necessarily have to be only that model, right? You get immediate feedback, and the more you do this, the more you build confidence, right? And not just confidence, but the last one is like, it tests your evaluation skills, right? You're gonna look at the code generation, and you're gonna be like, well, this is here, this is here, this is not here. So, your first step is clear. Tonight or tomorrow, take 10 minutes and try the test factory exercise. The goal isn't perfection, y'all. It's to take one step to recalibrating your skills in an environment of minimal risk and maximum reward and learning. Only how many minutes? 10. How many minutes?
10 minutes.
There you go. And here's the link again to my presentation. I actually used Google Gemini and Claude to generate it. So I generated 2 versions, and I told them, okay, what's missing, and I presented the one that I felt was better, right? Thank you. Do you guys have any questions? Can you say your name, please?
Oh yeah, Dinesh Bansal, and I have a SaaS company. I'm not going to tech, but what if the engineers don't have the right context? Because like the teams are getting smaller, code bases are getting massive. Like 10 months from now, it's going to be so much code. Do you have the right context? So this approach means we have to do a lot of manual work, right? Is there a way to manage context? That's what I'm wondering.
This touches. What's up? Oh. He's asking, well, what you said is, as time has gone on, there's more and more code being generated, right? And how do you manage context when the code base has grown? I mean, I imagine it's grown exponentially. And this is something that hacking, I'm going to always refer to AD because we've been hacking on a few things and we've been sharing our learnings. One of the things that we came upon was the idea of writing specifications, right? You need to give it guardrails. You need to give it an idea of like what constitutes good, what constitutes bad. And through the work that we've done together, we've been able to take an idea, right? Just a simple idea, turn it into a full-on business plan using these AIs, back it out into a PRD, back that out into user stories, and then even the user stories, we would like, you know, we would give it to, we were using, at one point we were using augment code, but now we're all in the Claude code. And I'd give it a user story and I would say, okay, generate a user story specification which defines like the acceptance criteria, what, you know, what files it should touch, right? And then I have it generate a QA testing specification that's based on what it should have created in the first place. And from that, we've had a lot more success. It's not foolproof. It really requires you to do a lot of like reading. Like I read now more than I've ever had. So hopefully that answers your question.
It's a great answer. And the reason I asked the question is one of the things everybody's focused on right now is you ask the agent, whichever, like it could be Cloud Code, Cursor, whatever, they're always checking, like you ask the question, they go back to the code and they say, let me figure this out, right? So they're literally checking the code at that moment, which is at the runtime, right? That's like you're preparing for a marathon, you get up and you try to run the marathon, right? Is it gonna work? Definitely not. So shifting the focus from runtime analysis of the code base to pre-processing it, preparing for the marathon, leads to great results, and you wouldn't see the billion tokens. And I'm sure out of the billion tokens, you're wasting a lot of those tokens too. Like we throw away so much code. So if you can form that code-based understanding, what you're effectively doing is saying, whenever my agent needs context, it can talk to my code-based understanding directly. So we don't have to sit and provide like 40 minutes of context. And then once we provide the context, it's all like it doesn't always give us the right result. You have to go through a lot of work, which is where we're wasting a lot of time with 10%. There's definitely a way to automate that, and I have a SaaS company which does that. Like I'm not going to market myself, but I'd love to just talk to anybody who's facing this challenge because we effectively solving it for a lot of companies right now.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
My name's Beth. Thank you, Susan. This is great. You alluded to the fact that you're reading a lot of code now, right?
Yes.
So I see this working really well for people who've been coding for a while and have some experience. How do you take somebody who's new and doesn't have that experience and up-level them enough to be able to really use AI effectively?
I can only speak as a senior. I haven't had a chance to work with someone who's out of school. This lady right over here, who just moved up from Miami, would fall under that category. But I imagine that it's a lot of it comes down to play. Like you have to play with the tech, and it has to be a low risk situation, right? And I actually have a lot more faith in the new crop of engineers than I do in the because they're going to look at things in the ways that we have. I know my son certainly has. So.
Yeah, just use the Twitch style of all the different businesses.
But that, I mean, it's kind of like when you have somebody who just finished a boot camp or just finished school and they're like, hey, I have all this experience, and it's like, but you've never worked on a code base with 50 other people. You've never, like, there are all these things that you just don't know how to do yet.
Yeah.
And so there's so much context that you can, and you can watch YouTube and Twitch all day, but you're not gonna get that context. You're not gonna have Rochelle, you're not gonna,
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those things are, I mean, it's only gonna, a lot of it has to do with companies believing that they should invest in the newer developers. Because the play here has been, oh, we're gonna use AI, we're gonna lop off, headcount of all these developers, right? And the developers that are there, they're like, well, how do I ensure that I'm here no matter what, right? So it's very, very tricky. There are a lot of people making money from this fear, right? And it's just us being able to see through it. And my hope with this talk was to reaffirm that, we do have agency. Like the stuff that I've written is far more radical than this in terms of like what we can do as a group with regards to, us as a community being able to create pods of people that have these specialties where we invest in each other because we have this tech and we're able to like do so much more than we ever have, and be able to like capture some of that value for ourselves, as opposed to passing it up the chain to people who have a fiduciary duty to stockholders. Go ahead.
To go back to her question.
Yeah.
Isn't it just experience? I mean, like, they're gonna fail, just accept it and put them in front of a thing.
Yeah.
Keep their failure super low, like the risk is super low, so they can fail freely.
Yeah.
But use the tools to kind of build up that skill, because it's not that the muscle, because they're gonna have to eventually be seniors.
Well, yeah, they
Everybody's on the beach, right?
they need to develop the taste, you know, but also you still need to learn how to like communicate with it, right? I mean, a lot of people graduating, I don't necessarily think have been taught how to understand the business in such a way that you communicate it to an AI, right? And that's something that you have to develop by actually being in the business or actually solving a real problem.
So I want your help solving a real problem. So I'm using Copilot a lot to do coding. And when it gets to debugging, it takes a really long time. Because you said that it's very confident when it's wrong. And I'm not as confident as my AI is. So I'm looking at what it changed and I go, I don't think that that's gonna work. And here's why. And they go, it's gonna work, it's gonna work. That's not gonna work. And then I've gotta go through my whole test cycle.
Yes.
And then I give it the results. Other choices are just like, hey, can we just put a whole bunch of like displays in here so that like I can prove that this doesn't work and you need to listen to me as to what's going, you know, and it eventually gets around and I've got to go in and code this stuff.
Yes.
But how do I better handle this little debugging argument so it doesn't just keep hitting those wrong lines? And I look at it and no, that's not going to fix it. And I'm just going to waste time going through my whole test cycle again to just get the same result.
Okay, my first thing would be to maybe use Claude Code. That would be number one.
Well, Claude scares me because it's going to change a lot more stuff than Gemini.
A lot of it comes down to you giving it parameters. You could tell it what sort of MCP server to use. You could say, well, I only want you to work with these files. And look, sometimes you have to say bad boy to it, right? Because it will go and touch things it shouldn't touch, right? But that's why you're there. You're able to see and be like, okay, don't do this. Don't go YOLO and walk away and like brew coffee, right?
See, I've been arguing with Gemini. That's what I've been arguing. When I go to Claude, it goes and changes a whole bunch of stuff. I just get scared, and I go back to Gemini.
So like, I'm on the side of not programming and using AI to do like fine tuning and learning, but for me, they have like kind of parts of speech. So as far as using it to do code and not mangle stuff, are there like resources that people could look for to make it do more better? Because prompt engineering for coding type of guidelines. Because I have a bunch of AI notes, but they're more about like grammar and words and research and that type of thing, as opposed to with code, it sounds like everybody has their secret sauce prompts. Is there like a resource that you would suggest or a general like framework? Because the stuff I have is about like parts of speech, and context is one of them, and like personality, and there's like 4 or 5 pieces of it. You don't necessarily need all of them, but if you're missing some of those pieces, the prompt ends up being a potato. And I'm wondering if there's a bunch of resources or something to start with, especially with kids trying to learn, and myself trying to get it to do a simple function, like when it wants to like do not anything close to like
I think it comes down to, it all comes back to defining your specifications. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. Like, it needs to follow your specs. You need to write specs. Like prompting will only get you but so far. But if you're like, well, these are the specifications, and specifications are built on these ADRs, and these ADRs have like, okay, these are the tech we're using, here are the versions, and your README, you have like the file structure there, so it knows like where things are.
You're just saying basically use prompting to follow the like leading practices of how to like write good code, right? Like you talk about user stories and things like that.
There's a book that who's Sam from Mastra? Does anybody know that book that he just recently wrote? A lot of people have been using that one. If you look at Mastra AI, Sam has this like free book
Principles of
What was it called?
Do you guys know what it's called?
Principles of AI.
What is it? Principles of AI? Yeah, okay, yeah, so Sam has this book, that
Not
he
this
wrote.
Sam.
Yeah. But tomorrow, maybe. You may have a book published on Amazon. But yeah, that one. We don't have time, yeah, one more question and then we'll move on to the,
No, finish what you were saying.
the what?
Oh, finish what you were saying, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna,
I was just saying, one last thing, and this has helped me, and maybe you can, it's worked for me. Start any prompt or anything that you're commenting, just do like a dash, like, write all your write your prompts in Markdown. That, to me, like, all AIs are really good at understanding Markdown, and that helps to give it context. Like tables, what's code, what's in there. And so like bullet points, like first when you're trying to give it like what you are and those kind of things. One of the simplest things that I do, and it helps my answers a lot, is I just put in like, ask clarifying questions if unsure.
Yeah.
And because that's the thing, like it's gonna wanna spit out an answer, whether it's right or wrong. But just putting that, to me, like gives you so much of where its head is at, that then you answer those questions. So like it'll be like 1, 2, 3, you just answer like 1, 2, 3 those.
I use Prompt Master from Open UI. It's like basically a prompt that helps you write better prompts. And there's a couple of other free ones out there. It's like it's a prompt. Like
Well,
it's like a stick session kind
I'll-
of thing. So like it helps you. You put in a crappy prompt, and then it writes the correct model of it, and then you're like, oh, this is all broken, but I see what I'm supposed to do to like make this.
Right.
There's a tool that AD and I use called Men's Code, and if you could play around with it, but it basically you could feed it a prompt, and there's like a prompt enhancement button you can press, and it will give you it will give your prompt a lot more context.
Yeah.
But you still need to read it. Don't just press it and then hit submit.
Similar to that, V0, I don't know if you guys have ever used V0.
Yeah, something like that.
Now it has one button. Honestly, I've learned so much from prompting from using that, because you put in what you want and it has a button to be like, make this prompt better before I send it. And it gives it a lot more, so much great context.
Like one tool, I was trying to wait on this. But
well, y'all can come up, let's go ahead and,
So
we are continuing this conversation.
So what you're describing is the meta side of AI. So yes, everyone knows these tools and you got these frameworks, you can prompt this way, you can do that. But if you search for this thing called information dense keywords, it's a library that I wrote. The intent of it is I was falling into the problem where I was using Gemini and Claude, right? And I would say something to Claude, then I would say the exact same thing to Gemini, and they would respond differently. So I was like, all right, they understand Markdown, right? Why not put these information dense keywords, like if you think about SQL, select, create, delete, those one words mean so much. And because AI understands language, why not piggyback on language? So what I've done, if you look at these information dense keywords, is there's a structured way to have you say one thing and they all understand what you're saying, right? So you reduce your tokens, they understand, right? So then you can create these beautiful prompts, right, with these beautiful apps. But if you go to Gemini, you go to Copilot, you go to Olama, whatever, and you use these information dense keywords, they understand exactly what you're talking about. And then if you put specs on top of that, you can actually delete your whole repository, but if you have the specs, it'll regenerate it. Because I ran into a problem with Sam where I was spinning on a bug for maybe like 4 hours. And Sam was like, AD, we have specs. You have the spec for it. Why don't you just tear it down and say, how do you improve it? So I tore it down and said, all right, let's improve this spec with the model. Right? I was like, how do we improve this spec so we don't run into this issue? It improved the spec. I rebuilt it, and within 5 minutes, I had the feature running. So all I'm saying is, like, you got to start thinking about the meta side, not Meta, the company, but the gaps in between. Like Microsoft, Apple, Anthropic, they can't solve all the gaps that we see when we use these tools. So we need to get there, right? I'm sorry, I was over.
No, I mean, I think it's amazing, and I'm so glad, Sam, you sort of like kicked off this amazing conversation. Thank you so much. Give him a big round of applause. That was great. And I also want to say, anybody who asked a question, come and get some swag. And also, I do Christmas holiday outfits. So thank you so much. I love it. Does everyone want to come up here and like show off your outfit really quickly?
Yes.
You don't have to. You can come down. You can some swag. So please, thank you so much. Thank you. I forgot mine. It was in storage, but Edie and Elliot, I convinced them. I don't know. Elliot was a little bit more. Is doing this a little bit more begrudgingly. AD is a little bit more excited about, but no, they're doing a workshop actually here at Atlanta Tech Park in about a month. It's typically I think $7.99, but it's 50% off for anybody at Modern Web. You get like $150 worth of tokens as you do it. I think this is the only page. Yeah, so I mean, definitely come check it out. But speaking of that, we want to sort of like go into this panel, which I don't know. We started doing a lot of these things. Sam gave some ideas on how to like sort of like low risk ways to prove it will work in existing code bases. I think a lot of people think about AI as, hey, this is great for greenfield applications, but so many companies we talk to are like, well, I don't know, it's gonna take like 3 months for this to get integrated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what are some easiest, best ways to get started on this?
So what I found, I was actually working with a company over the last few weeks. They were evaluating Gemini, CLI, and Code Assist. So it started around, they were saying, oh, it doesn't work, it doesn't do what we want it to do. It's just, it's all over the place. And I asked, what are you doing? So the scenario was they want to upgrade Java and Spring Boot. I'm like, okay, what's the prompt you're using? They showed me the prompt, like, all right, okay. Since you're so skeptical that it doesn't work, I see your prompt, let's do this. Instead of saying migrate, say, let's create a migration plan. So they did that, and then they came back, they do that. They came back and said, all right, I was running into problems, right? It timed out. I'm like, okay. The next step is, how about try and create a phased migration plan, right? And have it work on each phase separately. Came back like, oh, now I'm starting to get somewhere. Right now they're starting to say, oh, now I get it. Now, this is an existing code base. So any existing code base, you need to start with, to where Sam was heading, you gotta direct it. Hey, if you evaluate the features or evaluate the components, right? Tell me about that document. That would be the start of your spec.
Is that phase one of your magic words?
I'm sorry?
Phase, how you said phase, is that one of the magic words that it
Oh, that's not one of my IDKs. But I did create migrate, I created spec this and user story this. So it has a lot of these words. So if you say spec this and you give it some title, it'll create a whole entire spec for you. And I created a migrate command where it'll do the same thing. It has a format where it's when I say migrate, whatever it is, it can be C, C++, whatever. It'll know, all right, this is the plan to migrate, whatever you're trying to migrate, right? And then you create a phased plan from there.
There's not a syntax though, it's just language, so.
I was just
you can
wondering
say
if
plan
that
instead of
word
spec.
works well.
It does, but
Okay.
so does plan and other similar words.
We gotta start using like language.
Yeah.
Language is the key to working with AI. If you're not using language and you're speaking to understand exactly what you're talking about, think of it as an intern. Like Sam likes to think of it as a junior dev. I like to think of it as an intern. Like seriously, you gotta guide it, you gotta coach it, you gotta keep it on the rails because they are eager. Interns want they want to get the job done, right? I want to.
Well, I was gonna say, think of it as a junior dev with a retrograde amnesia.
Yeah.
That's a better way.
Ellie, do you agree?
What is a junior dev? I really like what Sam was saying. Think of it as something with perfect memory and knows everything, but no taste. I like that a lot better than the junior dev thing, because I think a lot of these analogies put the failures on the tooling and on the models, and I think like one of the problems that I see people struggle with is not looking the other direction and thinking about what am I in control of in terms of like the context, the prompt, that kind of thing, or what's implicit in my thinking that I'm not making it explicit, and like, okay, I've got a team of people I've been working with for years. What's implicit in our language that is not in that relationship when you type it into that box? And not really understanding what our process is, because like, if you pick up a ticket, I don't think you like read the ticket and then just open the code file and start changing the code file. Like, you haven't thought about like, okay, how would I approach this? And you have to take the AI through that process, because it needs the same thing. You can ask it to just go to the ticket, but then it would do the same thing that you would do if that's the way you went about it. And so I think it's like a real journey of understanding how we work and how we communicate. And I think like, as you get experience with it, you uncover all these things that, oh yes, I do know I do that, but I wasn't saying that, was that. And there's a lot of learnings you go through like that.
So, Elliot and I work together, of course. He's the CTO of BizDot, and so my perspective of this, like all these migrations we've been doing using AI is, look, we just completed a 3-year migration in less than 6 months. We're just about to migrate like 3 React Native apps in, hopefully the next 2 to 3 months, with 2 people. And so I don't see the sort of like low risk, easy way to prove it works in their code base, but I just think like, the guys just get the job done and it's amazing. Like, do we do that? Like, is there stuff that we sort of like incrementally do that they haven't said, or is it sort of the same?
I think you work up to it. You don't start there, that's for sure. The conversation earlier about like
in every project, or like
no, you work. I mean, there's experience with AI just like there's experience with anything else. So it's not just magic, right? No different than learning all the things we've learned so far. It wasn't just magic. It didn't happen overnight. Understanding like, okay, when I say this, this is what it produces, and it's not gonna do that every time, right? But when I say this, it does that. I think you got to go through like banging your head 1,000 times to see, okay, when I say this differently, like you add the phase in, what did it do differently? You ask for like a numbered list instead of a bulleted list in your plan. Does it work differently then all of a sudden? I think you can't get there without experience, and I think you got to learn from other people if you want to get experience faster, which is exactly the same way you learn anything else. Reading the manuals of agents, like all the same ways we learn everything else, I think you got to take the same approach here. You work up to that, and I think a lot of it is the specs that we've been talking about, planning ahead, trying to make things repeatable, getting at examples, really building out what the context is for the task. A lot of trial and error. I think on some of these migrations, you have to fail the migration 1,000 times before you get it right. It's like, Sam and AD were talking about just destroying the whole repo and building it back up. Sometimes you take that approach because the issue isn't trying to fix how it was there, it's go back to the origin and fix the issue at the beginning, because it's usually pretty quick to get back to there. So sometimes it's easier to just start to go back to the drawing board and fix the problem there. Remember the problem, take it back to the spec and say, hey, we had this problem when we got to the end. What can we change over here to have the desired result? He's pretty good at figuring that out.
Next question is just pitfalls. So I think it's interesting because when I hear people talk about like a lot of people I think have tried to use AI and said, you know what, this doesn't work, and they walk away from it, right? And there's so many sort of like mistakes or things that you hear, AI not doing right, etc. So how do you sort of avoid some of the common pitfalls you've already seen using AI?
So most people, when they hear the word or the acronym MCP, they think of the server, right? The protocol. But it's really the big three. I learned this from Andy Dev Dan, right? If you guys don't know Andy Dev Dan, you probably should follow him.
On YouTube.
On YouTube. But Andy Dev Dan, it's always, as much as this stuff has changed, it's always about the model that you use, Gemini, Claude, GPT, the context that you give it, and the prompt. That is the foundation of all this stuff. So if you focus on those 3 key foundational elements, regardless if it's an agent, if it's an agentic workflow, if it's just a chatbot, those 3 things right there will set you apart. And I think if any of us learn that, if we just learn it as a group, we'll be so far ahead, because these tools keep changing. There's a lot of hype right now, but those 3 things are key, right, to managing where AI is.
A lot of people with a lot of experience have strong preferences on agents, but I think that's because they've got a lot of experience, they've hit the walls on certain ones. But I think if you're starting out, it almost does not matter which one you use. I think it does matter a bit more which model you use. I wouldn't be using open source models or local models. Those are like significantly inferior to the main models. Honestly, just use Claude for Sonnet and call it a day until you get more experience if you're not sure. But as far as agents, like if you've got an agent provided at work, use that agent. The initial issues you're gonna have are not at all an issue with the agent. I think when you get more advanced, you do get to use cases where some agents have advantages over others. But out of the gate, it's all about understanding what the context you're giving it, how you're having it work, and how you're prompting it. And all the agents at this point, I'm saying all, I don't know literally every agent, but most all popular agents are gonna be just fine.
Let me ask you this, do you all remember everything everyone's told you throughout your life?
Yes.
That's your context, right? So AI is like that. AI can't remember everything you give it at every moment. You can't do it, right? So you're trying to get AI to do it.
Why
and
does
then-
it remember everything?
Well, that's different. Why do remember? Right. That combat rate. Maybe my context won't do it small. I'm just saying it, but if we really got to take, like what Sam is saying, like the human AI connection, the collaboration. We got to think of them as like, they have to learn what they learn. Learn is like subjective, but we gotta treat it as such. It's a tool. It's a teammate, right? That's a mental shift. It's not about, hey, AI is gonna take my job. It's gonna be someone who knows AI is gonna take your job, right? So get there and get your assistant, learn it, play with it, test it out, break some things. That's how you learn, right? To Sam's, I know I'm bringing up Sam. I know you kept saying, I'm like,
Good talk.
it was a great talk. Tear it down, like go to his repo, go to his slides, right? And create it. Create a Hello World app. Create React Next app, right? And break it.
Get your side project. Don't try to do this in your work repo that is enterprise and mature, right? It adds too much challenge to it. Get your side project or something you're doing on the side and learn there. It's just smaller, and so it's less complex. You're not gonna feel pressure to get work done at the time, right? Starting smaller here, because there's a lot to learn. With learning, you want to encourage yourself, right? So if you set yourself up to be discouraged, I think that can be a lot of headwinds, right? So I think Sam is starting very small with the exercise he was suggesting. I think it's a really wise way to start, because you want to feel like you're growing your understanding, and if all you feel like you're doing is banging your head and making no progress, I think that's a hard environment to try to continue to learn in.
I was just talking to, so I talked to a lot of CTOs on, the metrics, and they always ask me well, what are the metrics that you think, how much of my code should be generated with AI? And so some people say 10%, 25%. I was on the phone with the CTO today, and he said, actually, my CEO says that he wants 40%. That was such a big, oh my God, right? But then you hear Sam talking, and I'm curious to ask you guys as well. Sam, you said 95% of your code is generated by AI?
Well, that's me. That's
Yeah.
not, I wouldn't recommend that for everybody.
But it's
It didn't start that way.
But that's
No.
the art of the possible that I think a lot of, we want to encourage everybody in this room to sort of start thinking about. It's not the 10, 25%, sure a lot of us are there right now, but I mean, even for you two, what percentage of code that are you guys writing that's generated by AI?
Well, before I answer that, let's be real. I think our job has changed that our goal is to make it 100. And English is a programming language, and we've got to figure out how to program these AIs to make our code. That's what our job is becoming very rapidly. And so that shouldn't be scary, because that's not an end of a job, it's just a change of our job, right? I strongly believe our job's been becoming make the machine that builds code. And I don't mean make the model or make the agent. An agent doesn't do it on its own. It takes a ton of prompting, a ton of context and stuff with it, and a ton of documentation. But yeah, I strongly believe the goal is the engineers who win in the next decade are the ones who get closest to 100% with as much of their work.
What about you, AD?
100% of my code is generated, real talk. So I
So
open
you're
source.
further than Sam.
Yeah, the open source stuff that I put out.
Sam's humble.
So I started out with Copilot. I was like, I'm not gonna let this thing run. No, I've been doing this for too long to have something write my code. Right, this was 3 months ago. I'm like, nope, So I'm like, this auto, yeah, I was very skeptical. I'm like, nope. And then I went to curse. I'm like, oh, I like this. It has a memory. Okay, I gained more confidence. Then I'm like, all right, can it, how, with the specs? I'm like, oh, cursor and specs. But then I started getting the rate limits. I'm like, all right, this is expensive. I moved to augment. I faced the same challenges. I'm like, okay, I'm getting rate limited because I'm pushing it. I'm at billions. I'm doing it, right? And then Claude Code came out, and it was just like, oh, right?
You mean the max plan?
The max plan. The max plan. When I got on the max plan, all I'm saying is, I forgot what the question was.
You saw me recording?
Oh, but I do. I saw you recording,
What
but
percentage of recording?
100% of my code is generated because I have confidence, because of the specs that I'm writing, because I plan ahead, I have strategy. So then when I go to implement, it's like having daggers, right? You gotta be like a ninja with these things. That's where we are. I've always wanted to be a ninja to be able to correct these things. Like I've been doing this a long time, so I'm like, all right, if I could just make this cut right here, that'll fix the problem. I can now, because I can see it, right? And if I have the insights into it, and the way I do it is I have automated pull requests on my side, where whatever code I write, it gets reviewed, right? So I get immediate feedback. So that increases my confidence, right? And that started from when I was building the platform, and I spun up 20 agents. They were doing work. I'm like, oh my God, no, stop. And I learned about permission. Like I need to actually put parameters and guardrails around these things. But all I'm saying is, I have the confidence enough because of the specs and because of the documents I'm writing to then have AI write 100%.
Well, let me ask you that. Did you just wake up one day and it was 100%, or
No.
do you think there was a mindset that got you there?
There was a mindset.
Like, you knew that's where you wanted to be, so you didn't take like the exit ramps that I'm sure you drove past 1,000 times. Of, oh, I could just stop working with the AI and go finish it myself. I assume you chose not to take that path and probably took a harder path.
Bro, it was so hard. Like I was like, oh my God, like I can write this loop so fast, but I'm like, I'm gonna see what Claude, Sonny, I'm gonna see what Gemini can do with this. And then they start getting faster and faster. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm getting confident with this thing.
Yeah, just to build off what you're saying, it's not just your confidence in the amount of documentation that you have, but also test coverage.
Yeah.
You need to write tests. Like, you know.
Tests saved my life, so I have pre-commit hooks, like because AI would try to force commit something, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, I'm gonna force you. Since you're not gonna listen to me, like I really have to talk to her like that. You're not gonna listen, I'm gonna put pre-commit hooks in.
I can't be hypocritical. I hate Husky, so I can't push it on anybody.
I'm like, dude, like I'm putting some guardrails around you, and you have to adhere to it, right? And that's when we gotta have the proper permissions in Git. We gotta have the proper test coverage, right? TDD is more important now than ever, right?
Yeah, like, do you have linting and
linting?
Are there no warnings in your code base, or are there 1,000? Because if there's 1,000, then that doesn't help the AI.
Yeah, it'll try to force commit, and I'll be like, no. I put an NO with big letters and exclamation points. Like, no, don't do that. I have to tell it, don't do that, remember this.
Well, it's so funny because like everything you guys are saying, it makes me like, when you talk about like, okay, I'm not gonna put my hands on the keyboard, you know, it reminds me of like I learned how to code by pair programming with my friends. And so like my friends that were incredibly like better, I would say, you know, they just let me drive all the time, and they were incredibly patient. My friends that like couldn't teach me just said, just give me the keyboard. You know, and then I'd get bored and I wouldn't learn, right? But it's kind of the same thing when you guys are talking about just like, you know, teaching it or talking to it or anything like that. Like we are literally just talking about, you know, interacting with another team member, if you will, right? So treating it like that.
Yep, that was the paradigm shift for me, is like thinking of it as a teammate.
Yeah.
So you talk about open source, and I'm kind of, my angle is like offensive security and security use cases, and I've seen a couple of white papers where they compare the whatever premium tier models to local models, and they're like not even close. We're talking like, you know, the top tier models are doing like 20% of the tests, and then like local models are like 2%.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen anybody that y'all worked with that is even entertaining the idea of like doing local models and coding or any of this? How many years do you think that's off? Because for me, I feel like with the right, there's smart people that are doing stuff behind the scenes we don't see, but like with the right people and the right open source models, you know, you might see these fine-tuned models that are aimed at security that can basically like pull the whole entire internet given the right amount of bandwidth and the right amount of GPU and local stuff. So like I see that within like less than 2, 3, 4 years, we're gonna start seeing models that can basically just compromise the entire internet at scale. Like, how is that? Do you see anything like that, or anybody entertaining? Because I've seen some companies have small local, they're kind of testing the waters, and their main fear is, you know, losing their proprietary code. And I know that's a big thing, especially in code shops, but it sounds like nobody's even entertaining the idea, and they're just like, give it to the cloud. Like, that's what worries me, right?
Well, we're not there. So you remember years ago where there was an auto with S3, right? Years ago, AWS, right? It takes monumental things like that for us to shift, right, to where you're talking about. Like everyone's still enthralled about the hype of AI. It's gonna take my job, what it's gonna do, like, but no one is thinking there, right? And that's where Elliot and I are going there. Like, we're going ahead and say, all right, what's next? So then we can bring it back to you and be like, all right, guys, let's create, let's build, let's do this thing together, right? But I have seen where there's the idea of a local meetup that is interested in building their own small LLM,
Yeah.
right? It's really focused around documents. Like if you have a LM, a small one that's really focused on documents, right? Then people can query that. But I see that no different from what you're saying around like some security thing that's gonna hack everything, right?
It seems like the only communities that are interested in that right now are the people trying to produce it. Because like the community I feel like I'm part of is people trying to use it for something. And that just feels like adding 1,000-pound weight to my back when I'm trying to get productivity out of an AI agent. So like, I'm not even I want the best tools 100% of the time.
Sure.
Because I'm not yet getting the results I want 100% out of it. So like, I'm working that path right now. So I have like no care for tokens, no care for anything, because I'm just trying to figure out how to get that result that I want a higher percentage of the time.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff is way cheaper than the traditional way of
I
doing
feel
it.
like we're in the same boat as everybody put everything in the cloud. Now everybody's getting head over head with usage and renewals and things.
Yeah.
And now these companies are bleeding money giving you top tier models.
Yep.
And they're bleeding money, and at some point in time, they're gonna have you buy their boot, and then they're gonna say, guess what, you gotta pay this much a month. And they're gonna, fine, I'll roll my own. And then we're gonna have like, 5 years of people trying to roll their own local model.
Right, like we already experienced, like with Cursor, I hit the limit with Cursor. We all hit the limits with Cursor. Now Claude just sent an email like, hey, we're gonna rate limit you. I'm like, dude, like you just gave me the max, like.
Yeah, we actually, I just started a company and I had them using Kaji, which it's like a web search, and you get access to a bunch of models. And I was using their corporate whatever, and we hit some token limit. I was like, I don't know what that means because I never had that problem. I used local whatever. But I ended up doing like prompt injection on their language translator. It's like, well, we can use their translator for an AI model. I don't know what's on the back end, but that's the thing for me is like, all these commercial things, it's like, you're gonna hit a token limit. And when you're in the middle of hot and heavy trying to solve a problem, you hit a token limit. There's literally like 8 emails that went out to try to fix it, and they're trying to talk to the vendor. It's like, I could do this locally, and as long as you sanitize it, it's not a big deal. So
There's not any token limits on the business APIs.
Yeah.
But they're not fair price. Use Sam's tokens, that's $1,000 a week. But still, $1,000 a week if you're actually being productive with it.
Sure.
For businesses.
Yeah, that's what
Is something you look at, but something you probably decide to just spend it.
Yeah.
What do you say, Sam?
I was gonna say that you should also keep in mind that these large language models, from a business standpoint, there is no moat, right? So it's a race to the bottom. And you have, like Kimi, which is a recent open source model come out. You have DeepSeek.
Yep.
You have, what do you call it? There's another one that just went. So you have all these open source models out there that are going to come out. They are getting better. As a matter of fact, they're as good as last year's or state of the art large language models from 6 months ago, right now, right? So just know that you can access these tools. It's just it's your comfort level.
It's an interesting philosophical argument though, but you're a little bit trying to fortune tell. And I would say if you're not using it because of what you think the future holds, you're almost accepting certain defeat right now, because I can already say from what I see in my experience that you're gonna get out-competed almost certainly if you're not using these tools. And I don't mean as an individual, I mean business to business. And you've got no choice to try to learn them as best we can. Probably don't want to forget your skills that you had yesterday either, but I think you got no choice to try to get really skilled using these technologies.
Hey, I work in quality assurance, and as AI progresses, do you see that the shift is going to be going to the left more and more, and there'll be less and less QA being involved in a day-to-day team?
QA is, no, that's part of the guardrails.
Yeah.
Right, so I don't see it being less involved, being more involved.
There's gonna be more code.
Is it going to be more specialized, I guess, should I ask?
Needs to be more focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
QA is never going away, but
No.
I agree with you there, but I feel like more, nerves. I feel like as time progresses, more and more of the responsibilities that were on QA are slowly shifting to developers, and I was wondering.
It is, but the shift, like, yes, it is shifting left more towards the developers, but I know there's still the automation piece.
Right.
Right, that is critical, right? That if you think of it as a function, you have a QA automation agent, right, that you own and operate. That's part of the whole workflow chain. Right, that's a whole different skill.
There should be more code generated, so there's gonna be more code that needs to be created.
And I think like everybody over here is, you know, these guys who I talk to, it's like, you know, right now we're thinking about human in the loop. Right now we're thinking about we need to review every line of code. And I don't know if AD agrees with this, but I know Elliot and Rob, another person on our team, have been talking about like, look, at some point in time where you're 3x, 10x, 100xing the amount of code that AI agents can produce for you, there is no human that can actually review that many lines of code. So if that's the case, then how do we start thinking about what it means to actually review code? What actually is good code? Like, it moves to more feature, like reviewing things at the feature level, but like thinking again about like, okay, what's next? What's our future? Anyway, so these are great conversations. I do host these lunches, and we're hosting a lunch soon to talk about sort of like AI generally, and then we're hosting like an AI leadership exchange soon too. So feel free to message me on LinkedIn or give me your email right now, or join this, where is it? Join the
LinkedIn group?
Join the, oh, it's not even here. It's like, but anyways, I mean, you can find me anywhere, but like, I'd love to get everybody sort of like involved in sort of like the little bits and pieces. Everybody seems really engaged in some of these conversations. There's the Atlanta AI community, which the QR code is not on here. But if you add like myself or AD on LinkedIn, then we can direct you to the right place. But we just, again, love to continue these conversations. Okay, there are to-go boxes for the cookies. Thank you everybody for bringing them. Take a smattering home to your children or for yourself. There's pie, there's pizza. Please do that. Please clean up after yourself. Please come take the rest of the swag so we don't have to take it home. And seriously, thank you everybody for such an engaging conversation, and let's just continue talking.